the first time since 1969, the Sports Car Club of America's National Championship Runoffs returned to one of their historic homes, Daytona. Welcome to the 52nd SCCA Runoffs presented by Garmin Verb at Daytona International Speedway, brought to you by Mazda. The run for the medals begins now. An absolutely glorious morning at one of the most legendary racing venues in all of North America, even the world. Daytona International Speedway, host for the 2015 SCCA Runoffs presented by Garmin Verb, the run to the national championships and the gold medals for the Sports Car Club of America. Today's coverage brought to you by Mazda. I am Greg Creamer, joined by Jeff Leppard down in pit lane. Hayward Wagner back for another full day of competition. And as we start off, this absolutely beautiful morning. It's a little bit deceptive out there. I'm sure Hayward will give us some input on that. It looks beautiful. It is already warm and a bit muggy. And Jeff, you know, we're the objective reporters we're supposed to be, but there's always an odd race that you look forward to, especially. A Sedan is one of them for me because this is the most closely associated class with the original glory days of Trans Am. That rule set is so similar. And Hayward, I think we're in for something special this morning.
Absolutely, Greg. We've got three drivers at the front of this grid that all have shown over the years a tremendous amount of pace and competitiveness. Andy McDermott last year got so close, had that brake issue at Mazda Raceway Laguna Seca that took him off of the podium. You've got John Heinrichsey, who's already had one championship this week, and his other championship run ended in grid, so he definitely has something to go after. But Tom Slow right now is the one that everyone's watching, your pole sitter in American Sedan.
Yeah, the irony with that last name, to be as fast as he is and always has been. And he is a national champion, won in 2009 at Road America in this category. But the other two guys that Hayward was talking about, Jeff, between them now, by my count, 19 gold medals. Heinrichsey getting his 13th yesterday, Andy McDermott 6. Heinrichsey's has been in a variety of classes. Andy McDermott, he's an A Sedan man, and he has won them all 6 of them in this class.
Yeah, this class here is one of the favorites. You got carbureted V8 push rods. You got the brand new fuel-injected cars with the 3 of those, and they're going to be quick around Daytona Speedway.
No doubt about it. And speaking of quick, we have a treat for you folks. The guy who qualified second and is one of the perennial front runners in this category is going to give you a tour of this marvelous facility in his big, powerful, WUMA-driven V8. This is our Garmin Verb Fast Lap on board with Andy McDermott.
You see him come down through the tri-oval into the braking zone here, and you just listen to that monster V8 down through the gears, banging it down here into turn number 1. Come around the outside of the Mustang here, and you really see the good as close as these guys get. They'll be touching, they'll be rubbing, they'll be drafting. This track was a little wet when Andy got his track lap here on the Garmin Verb Fast Lap, but still, you can really get a sense of the speed these guys will be carrying. 182 miles an hour in the speed trap on some of these cars in a Sedan.
And like the original Trans Am, these cars start as a production-based car. There's some significant modifications you can do, but it is not a built-from-the-ground-up, purpose-built race car, and that's what the original Trans Am was. Truly a case of buy it at the showroom and go race it and show what it can do. And this lap here now into what they call the West Horseshoe. And then this key run up here now, Jeff. This turn 6 might be one of the most important on the track.
It really is, especially for these cars, because they have all that power, all that torque. You want to get it rotated, just barely touch that curb here. And there's a little bit, you see him get a little bit loose there. You can go all the way to that gator strip on the outside. Big transition there, get up on this banking. He'll see him go high, then he'll bring it back down to decrease that radius of that corner. But getting that spool up, getting it going, getting the RPMs up, because they'll be hitting the second longest straightaway on this oval coming into our bus stop chicane. Just past that second blinking light down there, you'll hit hard on the brakes. You might drop a gear or two. You'll turn left there. You see them all over the brakes and the nose of that WeatherTech Mustang dipping left over the curb, right over this curb here, right onto the edge, maybe picking up a little bit of gravel there. Eat every bit of that curb you can. Come back into turn number 3, and it is on. You'll see that acceleration. Look at that, 95, 100 miles an hour, 110. Just that quick. He's climbing through the speed. You see him shift again. 110, 115, 120 as you see the speed climbing. It's amazing how fast it can go here as you get down to the straightaway into the tri-oval. Just look for that top speed there, 140, 150. It's amazing as fast as these cars can go.
Absolutely, and as you can see, no traction control.
That's
these
in the
cars,
rain.
yeah,
150.
no traction control. These cars have a lot of power, under-tired, and no traction control, no driver aids. This is one of those classes where, one, the ability for car control is paramount, and the ability for being able to manage tires on these cars is massive, because it's so easy to just overdrive and spin them up and burn them off the car. So it is an exercise in conservation in some ways while dealing with some monster grunt.
When you talk about that, I've also got to think, Greg, this is more of a, you talk about engineering on the form of the cars and engineering we saw in the F500 with all the aero and CF dynamics of doing the body.
Right.
This is an old school engineering here. This is setting the floats on the carburetor. This is adjusting the jetting for the car sitting on the dyno. This is old school engineering at its best, and I think all those garage mechanics and guys growing up drag racing, doing V8 racing, these are the guys who are going to shine, because this is the great old school. Here, as we see, John Heinrichsey, I believe, is stuck on pre-grid, not moving. That was our third place in line car. You see that blue IROC right there parked on the right side. I'm not sure if we have a problem with your third place starter, John Heinrichsey.
Oh, let's hope not. I mean, he got that national championship, his 13th in the B-Spec class, but in GT1, he had a problem and a gearbox broke on the move to the pace lap, and for him to have something like that happen again would be absolutely criminal. Here the front row comes out, though. Tom Slow in that yellow Mustang, that Ford Mustang GT, the Hutter race engines, and Hoosier entry, and then Andy McDermott in his WeatherTech Lane Automotive machine. And there's the 55 of Heinrichsey just sitting. I cannot imagine what is going through his head right now. Maybe Hayward's got an update. Now, Heinrichsey is able to get moving. The question now, Hayward, is can he take that third grid position, or does he have to fall into the back of the pack?
Guys, I don't know the answer to that. I will find out as quickly as I can. A couple of cars to keep an eye on here are the Aquilente sisters, Beth and Amy Aquilente. That family gets a lot of attention in racing, but a lot of times for Joe Aquilente, father of Andrew, the Phoenix Racing Team. This is Tom's family, which runs on a much more shoestring budget. Let's keep an eye on those two drivers and their third driver, who you just referenced, John Heinrichsey.
Yeah, very good point. Amy and Beth out there. And again, you talk about Andrew Aquilani and his level of success, but there are a couple of other guys that we're going to be paying very close attention to in other classes, and one of them is Kurt Rezzitano, who runs with this group, and all part of that extended Aquilani family. But as Hayward mentioned, a couple of different levels of program there. By the way, we're getting a report now from SCCA that Heinrichsey will have to stay at the back. If you do not make the roll off of the grid, you start at the back of the field. And so it's sure going to be fun watching him come up through this pack.
Yeah, it's going to be hard if he wants to try to get his 14th championship. And this is his last chance here this weekend. The GT1 car, like you mentioned, broke the clutch as he started leaving the grid where he was just stuck in this car. He's got to come through a long line of fast cars, 21 cars, if he's going to want to make the first and get his 14th championship. He won it in B-Spec yesterday, clinching his 13th national championship. Not sure even if that car is having a problem or what's wrong. We'll wait for Hayward Wagner to update us on that, but it's going to be fun, like you said, watching him come through the field. But Tom Slow, Andy McDermott, you may come through the field. Those would be two guys who would be really hard to get around.
Oh, without a doubt. And I mean, those two, but let's not forget Ed Hosney, also a former gold medalist here, winning it in 2012 at Road America in this category. So, I mean, some of the guys that are up front are not just going to open the door and let him slide through. You've got Phil Smith, number 54, qualified fourth. He is a bronze medal winner, 2009 at Road America. And as you can see, the grid scrolling across the top. I do think, though, that especially now with Heinrichsey at the back, watching him come up, but watching Tom Slow and Andy McDermott, a lot of eyes are going to be on that and see how this one unfolds. We know there's not a lot of love lost between Tom Slow and John Heinrichsey. Well, now they're split on the track, but Andy McDermott has always been a thorn in those guys' sides as well. So this could end up into a real fierce battle, which means that Phil Smith and Ed Hosney, Dan Richardson, and Amy Aquilani, great run to 7th that she put in. They're not out of medal contention by any stretch.
Not at all. And of course, with these cars, that old school engineering, pushrod V8s, some fuel injected cars, I believe the Cadillac CTS-V, the newer style Camaro are both fuel injected. but these are 2 pace laps for these cars, so we're not going green this time by. They're going to get some extra heat in those tires here. It's an early morning. These cars are heavier, and with the bankings here and not used to doing that, we'll get the 2 pace laps. But I guess we got a new update from Hayward Wagner down on pit lane.
Guys, I just talked to John Heinrich's crew, the Aquilente team. Either they missed the whistle. At 1 minute, SCCA rule is that you must be ready to go. At 1 minute, John Heinrich's driver's door was still open. By rule, the grid held him to the back. The car was not ready to go at the 1 minute. No mechanical issues, but a very motivated, to say it lightly, John Heinrich at the back of that grid.
Wow, that's interesting. I mean, the good news there is that there's no mechanical issue with the car, but very un-Phoenix-like to have that kind of a little lapse, obviously, and it's cost John dearly. But you can see him way at the back there. He's giving himself lots of room. You know he's building heat in those tires. And you talked about this second pace lap. It isn't necessarily so much a concern about tire heat. It's pressure in these tires because the loads in the banking, they wanted to give these guys every opportunity before they come whistling down in to the infield and up onto that banking for the first time to have the tires up to proper pressure.
Yeah, you saw that. We had that with the heavier cars in the GT1 class. They also did that in GT2, and we'll see it later today in the T1 and the T2 classes as well. It's more of a safety thing. When you're doing 150 miles an hour like we saw on our Garmin Verb fast lap with Andy McDermott in the rain, and you're doing 180 miles an hour in the dry like these guys will be doing, obviously that was qualifying trim. Still, we just want that extra little bit of safety just to make sure they're still going to get their full 14 laps or 40 minutes, whichever comes first.
And one of the things you look at here, you take a look at those top 2 cars of Slow and McDermott, the Ford Mustang GTs, the new body style on that, slipperier than the old body style was, but these Pontiacs are very, very slippery by comparison. And, you know, Heinrich, obviously, he's going to be able to get some great drafts. That car is going to be slippery. It's going to be interesting to see how quick he can work his way up through the field. You take a look, the pole time by Tom Slow is a 2-minute 1.7. Andy McDermott next up at a 2:02.5. Then it was a 2:02.9 by Heinrich. Then you get into the 2:03s and 2:04. So those 3 were clearly a bit quicker than everybody else. And Heinrich is a guy, so much experience, understands, you know, he's got to do this fast. It's only 14 laps, but you've got the pace.
You do have the pace, but I think what he's going to do is we'll see him rush through the field really quickly because of that time differential.
Yep.
Then once he starts getting into the top 5, top 6, he'll probably stall out for a little while, and I believe the only way he's going to have a chance to go battle with these leaders is if we get a full course yellow for him to close that gap back down. I don't expect John Heinrich to clinch his 14th championship.
Yeah, he's going to need help, as they say, and this is going to be interesting. Now you can see Slow now as they come up, and one of the things in this class, Jeff, you know, because of the level of performance and the limited prep and modifications you can get, we've seen mechanical issues, things happen. I mean, you just go back to what happened with McDermott last year with that brake rotor that blew up and turned his day into a bit of a nightmare, and John Heinrich launched a motor early in the going. Things happen in this class, and that's why we hold the races, as they say, and we have one of the best of the runoff selection about to come green.
It really is, and there's that led by that brand new Mazda MX-5 pace car, the global MX-5 Cup that we'll see compete at next year. Thank you so much for Mazda, of course, our live coverage here brought to you by Mazda. Thank you so much to Mobil 1, Sunoco as well, all making the runoffs happen and part of that, so we can't thank all the sponsors here enough.
Yep, it's a partnership-driven project to be able to cover every one of these national championship races live on the web, and then have the shows available later as well. And a Sedan about to go for it. The pace car is in. Tom Slow in the yellow car. McDermott alongside, and the green flag flies. And it is Slow easing into the lead. McDermott tucks right down behind him. Now coming up, Phil Smith in that machine, that black car right there is actually that, I think, is the number 13 of Ed Hosney. Yeah, great start by Hosney. It qualified 5th, and with Heinrich missing the grid, and Slow a little wide, but Hosney completely sideways. You can see he went for the trigger to try and take advantage of Slow running wide, but the back end stepped out, and now McDermott going to try and squeeze it down the inside of Hosney into the international hairpin. He does.
I think McDermott was pushing him a little bit on that back bumper, too, to get him loose a little bit first, but now solidly into second place. This is McDermott as they come down here into the kink. I don't think you'll see any flashes of brake lights from our leaders here as coming down through that at 120 miles an hour. McDermott completely sideways through the kink.
Yep, car control, man. That's what you get to see here. As I said, a lot of horsepower, under-tired, no question about it, settling into fourth where he qualified. That blue Camaro of Philip Smith, that's the Ron Sutton and Ilmore PRS machine, and he is right now going after Ed Hosney, and Hosney in that Lasco Ford Mustang, a little bit older body style in the Mustang, but Ed gives that thing a great wheel every time he climbs behind it.
McDermott got a better run out of turn number 6, tried to tuck up underneath Tom Slow, wasn't able to get there, just decided to tuck back in and get a draft. The two Mustangs starting to pull away a little bit from the older Fox body Mustang of Ed Hosney.
Well, and I would think at this point the smart thing for Slow and McDermott would be to just do that. Just draft with each other, try and break those guys behind. They know Heinrich's way back. Just try and build that bit of a margin before they actually decide to go and start racing. But I'm not sure that suits either of these guys' mentality. They both just drop the hammer and love to race, and they're going to go after it big time.
Both of these cars are carbureted versions of that V8. This is not the fuel-injected motors that these cars came with, so these cars are heavily modified. The suspensions are completely open on these cars. You'll see tubular control arms, coilovers, adjustable reservoirs, as Ed Hosney's tucking in behind McDermott now, starting to pressure. It's a 3-car battle for second place.
Boy, Tom Slow has got some motor, doesn't he? But now into the braking zone, Andy McDermott going to try and swing up around the outside. And you can see the difference there. McDermott was in the clutches of Hosney down into as they hit the start-finish line and is all over the back of Slow and makes up a ton of ground on Hosney under braking. Andy McDermott, now look at this move. He swings to the outside. And they both lock up big time. Now the over-under by McDermott goes to the throttle a bit sooner. Ooh, a little touch right there. And Slow comes right back at him and says, all right, you want to play that? Now look at McDermott going, let's not do that. I was a little quicker. Let's just draft and go. I'm not sure that Tom Slow, that mentality and that little bit of a rub may have just got that fiery temperament of Tom Slow lit.
He sure did. Up to 11th place was John Heinrich on that very first lap from 22nd. So doubled his, really moved up double what he started at to get up to 11th. We'll keep an eye on that, but it is Tom Slow back to second, Andy McDermott in first, and you saw him wave to him saying, let's go, let's go, let's go. And he is significantly faster. He pulls about a 5-car length lead over Tom Slow.
Well, there's not a whole lot you can do in terms of aero tweaking on these cars, but clearly Tom Slow's car is set up as much as you can for the speed on the banking, and McDermott is much more effective in the braking zones and in the infield.
It sure looks like it. We'll see if Tom Slow can close in a little bit on this oval. Waiting to see what the trap speeds are. Just on the first lap, they're up to the highest one at 165 miles an hour.
And woo, big loose moment by Slow, turning into the bus stop. Hosney had to check up. The back end of that black number 13 got all sideways as well. And here comes Philip Smith. He's around Hosney, and he is going to try and drop down and take that second spot away from Tom Slow. And Slow just got into the bus stop too hot.
He sure did. I think Ed Hosney sort of followed him a little bit, wondering what was going on there and had to check up. But how about now Andy McDermott pulling away? He's not even in the frame anymore of our second and third place cars.
And by the way, we just got a report that Heinrich in the 55 and the 20 of Jim Wheeler in the Willwood and KC Raceware Pontiac Trans Am machine had a little bit of a bump, in the turn 5 area. So Heinrich he's got to show some aggression to come up through the pack. But Tom Slow right now must be just fuming. Here it is, Jeff.
Yeah, see what happens as he does. You see the rear brakes lock up. He gets a little bit too slow, and I think Hosney had to, just like you said, check up a little bit there. Ended up getting loose, not sure if he was going to come back in front of him. Both those cars doing a great driving job to not tangle each other up.
And Phil Smith, opportunistic, jumping on the opportunity, and just ramped around both and jumps into second. And he's now been able to open up just a little bit of a margin on Tom Slow. And I think that may be one of the issues when you set your car up for outright speed at this facility. If you get caught up, make a mistake like that, drop back behind a couple of guys, you can be in for kind of a long day because you've got to be able to draft, but then you don't have anybody to draft with once you get into second to try and run down McDermott. As we pick up now, John Heinrich and Jeff up into 8th right now. And I mean, he's a ways back, but it's not that far adrift at this stage. And as you said, any kind of a caution, he's in this game.
Was number 50 of Amy Aquilante. He got in front of her. He might even be up to 6th place right now. She was running 6th before.
And the Andy McDermott has the fast lap right now. Second quick lap, John Heinrichsey.
Yeah, he's on a flyer now. 167.803 miles an hour by Ed Hosney and Daniel Richardson, the exact same top speeds as they were doing that here. As it goes purple for the speeds on those 2 times. They are on a flyer. Up to 6th place is John Heinrichsey.
That's an identical top speed, isn't it? How rare do you see that? To the thousands for those guys right now. Heinrichsey and Tom Ellis, who I'm trying to find where he's sitting here. Philip Smith, excuse me, also into the 167. So that's some wicked quick speeds that we're seeing right now. Good battle here. Those 3 cars working through the tri-oval, and here comes Heinrichsey closing up. So that was Aquilani and Ellis, and now I think, yep, that is exactly it. Heinrichsey has moved up yet another spot in this charge. He's up to 6th, Jeff.
Yeah, Tom Slow falling back. He's back into 5th place now as Ed Hosney and Daniel Richardson has gotten around him. Not sure if the handling has fallen off or he's got a problem with Tom Slow. You see him sort of shaking the car there down into that braking zone. Perhaps overheated those brakes this time in there.
Well, we saw when he had that moment in the bus stop, it was that inside the left rear that locked up and just got the car just to start swinging around a little bit. And, there was that little bump that he and Andy had, and then he went and just gave Andy a hard tap again. I think just to let Andy know he wasn't real pleased with it, and I wonder if that maybe knocked the toe out or something.
It could have been right there on that tire. They did make some pretty heavy side-to-side contact. Got a lot of debris there on that front splitter. I don't believe there's any air ducts there. There might be some that goes to the brake, so he may have lost his brake cooling as well on the front of that Mustang. So looks like he is struggling here at a 2:07. His best lap when your leader, his best lap was a 2:03 the time before that.
Yeah, that's not what he wants to see here. I mean, his best lap was a 2:05, but he's nowhere near that, as you point out. And a car that was so fast previously, he's, his top speed's down as well. He turned to 164, essentially, 164 miles an hour. He hasn't been able to get into the 160 mile an hour range. And John Heinrichsey coming in again, slow, cannot get that car turned. And here comes John Heinrichsey. And these 2 guys, I called a race between these 2 at Heartland Park, Topeka. That was an absolute slam fest. But I think Slow realizes he's got a wounded machine of some sort. We don't know exactly what, and Heinrichsey able to just easily drive by.
Yeah, he just put the pedal down through the bus stop and just pulled right around the outside. Here's the contact you see again, just a little side to side here coming off, a nice little touch there. And you see
that's the one I'm worried about.
Just right there, he did it right off to the front. Might have hit the, looks like it was just the front bumper, but
yeah,
you never know. You just barely lick those tires, and like we said, the suspension's open on these cars. They're running a lot of aluminum control arms, trying to make this as light as possible. You get one slight little touch. You can even bang a curb too hard, and you bend something or get something out of whack, and it'll wreck your whole day.
Yeah, and I'm watching that car Slows right now, and it's very twitchy under braking, so I wonder if he doesn't have a bias problem of some sort that he just can't sort out, seeing those rears lock up. And if something broke in the bias adjuster and it's now full rear, that gives you a long day of racing at this stage. I mean, look what Andy McDermott had to deal with when he had a brake rotor go. When you're carrying speeds at 167 miles an hour, slowing down, pretty important.
Yeah, very important. I think that's the second most reliable thing that you want to have on your car is your braking system next to your engine to get you to accelerate. And you see, I just saw Tom Slow back behind John Heinrichsey, completely sideways through the West Horseshoe. That car, the handling has come off, and braking problems for your pole sitter, unfortunately. Fastest man, fastest race lap is your leader, however, Andy McDermott, that 2:02.922. There he is on your screen into the bus stop. Not another car in sight. The gap last time by was 6.4 seconds.
Yeah, and here's the interesting stat. The gap all the way to Heinrichsey in 5th, considering where Heinrichsey started, only 12 seconds, 1st to 5th at this stage. So obviously not that bad a drive, but that's a long amount of ground to make up, especially when the guy you're chasing is actually setting quicker laps than you and setting race fast laps.
2.1 seconds quicker the last time by for Heinrichsey versus McDermott. Now that Heinrichsey has sort of fallen into that 5th place, trying to run down Daniel Richardson, we'll see if Heinrichsey can start getting some fast race laps here and close that gap. I just don't think he can do it without somebody else having a problem or getting a full course yellow.
And we're coming up now, just completing lap 5. And love the sound, man, on those downshift, the blips. WUMA, as we love to call it for this class. And Andy McDermott, when he gets a lead like this, but we saw that at Mazda Raceway last year. He had that big lead and then had that issue on the car. But when he gets a lead like this, he's pretty difficult to track down unless there's some sort of an issue here. And right now, Hayward, Andy McDermott has himself a tremendous run going.
He does indeed. Just spoke with Tom Slow's crew. The report is that that car is down a cylinder, and the handling issues that you're seeing are Tom just trying to wring the car's neck hard enough to keep up with everybody else. So the car balance-wise is fine. He's just driving it as hard as he possibly can down one cylinder.
Wow, Jeff, that makes for a very long day when you are running on 7 cylinders and everybody else is out there on healthy V8s. That's a tough race. And Tom just doing an amazing job when you consider it. You're down a cylinder. And again, like you said, just throwing this thing around.
Yeah, you do what you can. You try to go into the braking zone as deep as possible. You try to get in the mid-corner, carry as much corner speed as you can because you don't have that power to pull you off and you lose your top-end speed. So seeing him go through the bus stop just as fast as he can and try to minimize the losses down one cylinder, sitting only on 7. And we'll see if that gets worse throughout this race. And heartbreaking for your pole sitter, Tom Slow.
Yeah, absolutely. That's the number 8 of Bill Botten coming up hard astern right now, and he was 2nd in this class at the 2014 runoffs last year. So Botten, a medalist, trying to figure out a way to move up as well. Here's a good battle for 2nd. Philip Smith now has been reeled back in by Ed Hosney, and of course these guys. Philip got that lead when Hosney had to check up behind Slow, got all squirrely, and Philip just drove by him. So this is going to be a pretty entertaining battle here for 2nd in the silver medal.
It really is, and Philip Smith pitted right next to us in our garage area, and I saw them had the heads off that car a little bit earlier in the weekend, doing some prep work on that, getting it ready for this race. So it looks like that got that tuned up, but Ed Hosney getting a good draft from the back of that Camaro coming down through the tri-oval as he comes across the stripe.
Well, and it worked. He just got the fastest trap speed of the race thus far, 169.5 miles an hour, being towed by Philip Smith, who's been consistently in the 168s. Bit of a moment there, and he gathered it up. Hosney not able to pounce.
Yeah, Philip Smith ran a little bit wide. Ed Hosney tried to take advantage of it, pulled down to the inside, got that car loose, and was not able to capitalize on that. But Philip Smith running a little wide here, too, in the International Horseshoe. Oh, they touch, make some contact. Both cars spin. And Philip Smith getting the worst of that deal.
Boy.
As Ed Hosney, I think Philip Smith a little bit on his own, I got to say, unfortunately, because he was down to the inside, or way deep in that corner, started bringing it back to the inside. Ed Hosney saw the opening, went down to the inside, they made contact.
Yeah, it was, I mean, the spin didn't happen from contact. That contact happened as a result of the spin. Here's another look, Jeff.
Yeah, he starts bringing it down, and then right when he's there, Ed Hosney saw the opening, stuck his nose in there, and they made contact and spun. So I'm not sure whose fault that was. One of those racing incidents, if you ask me, but you got to give fault to both those guys there.
Well, yeah, I mean, obviously Smith left an awfully big inviting window open there, and Hosney turned down underneath right as Smith then decided to cut toward the apex. So obviously we'll expect to hear that the stewards are investigating that one at this stage. Andy McDermott continues to build his lead up to 7.5 seconds right now, and a delayed Ed Hosney, so that is going to blow up a little bit more here the next time by. That was at the end of the last lap, and Philip Smith is still sitting there in 3rd, but John Heinrichsey now is closing quickly, and I think he may have already, yeah, he did. Heinrichsey has already cleared Dan Richardson, so John Heinrichsey is in 4th, and is absolutely flying now. He's it's going to be 3rd now as a result of that bit of a moment with Phil Smith. And wow, Heinrichsey, what a show he is putting on here.
He really is, up to 3rd place into a podium spot, and I was really hoping for that he does at least finish on the podium or get this championship so we can hear his take on what happened down there in pre-grid. And I'm sure John Heinrichsey, not one to hold anything back. He'll tell you the way it is. But now, can he run down Ed Hosney? I don't think he can get Andy McDermott, as he's still lapping 2 seconds quicker than your third place car here at a 2:03.631 last time by. And I got to think a little bit, Greg. I would be on the radio with Andy McDermott. As there you see Heinersee pushing it so far, drops those wheels off. Maybe it's time to start going in some conservation mode a little bit for Andy McDermott here.
Yeah, I mean, that's my thought too. But on the other hand, Andy, maybe his reply is, yeah, no, because Heinersee is coming. And I know what this guy can do. And if we get a caution and the like, I need to, you know, obviously a caution, it all goes away. But if there's no caution, having as big a margin as you can, but saving a little something, I think you're absolutely right. And I think we might see McDermott start to back it off a little bit. I mean, he's got a 2:02.9 as his fast lap, and last time a 2:03.6, still quicker than anybody on the track. We'll see what happens when we come back from a break. So we're going to step away for just a moment here from the SCCA Runoffs, presented by Garmin Verb. The 2015 SCCA National Championship Runoffs, presented by Garmin Verb, is being brought to you by Mazda. Mazda, driving matters.
16 wide eyes. Driver's license, took 2 tries, bought a Roadster secondhand. Playing parties with the band, loaded up, off to state. Hijinks, tailgates, starter, midsize. Family cruising. Now in the garage, something new reminds you of when you were you.
It's time to face facts. You're a gearhead. You wish the freeway on-ramp was your personal racetrack. Well, buckle up, buddy, because the Sports Car Club of America wants you. With 40,000 members and events across the country, the SCCA has all the excitement you can handle. Dance the blacktop two-step with SCCA Solo. Get down and dirty with SCCA Rallycross. Or go wheel-to-wheel with SCCA Club Racing. Hit the track with the SCCA, where America's best drivers race.
Welcome back to Daytona International Speedway. There is John Heinersee as he has worked his way from dead last in the field after qualifying third, but being held on the pre-grid. Now making his charge, has worked his way to third and is some 4 seconds adrift of Ed Hosney in second. And with that, let's check in with Hayward Wagner.
Guys, Heinersee's crew feels confident that he can get into the second spot, needs a caution to get into the first, to be able to compete with McDermott for the first spot. Andy McDermott famously does not use a radio during these races, so any strategy calls that's being made in that car, being made by Andy on his own. So keep an eye on him if he gets Heinersee in the mirrors and see if he turns the wick up.
Well, and you're absolutely right. Generally the strategy for Andy McDermott is there's that switch that's an on and off for the throttle, and you flip it to on and you just hang on and drive the thing. That's how it works. And you know, for Ed Hosney, he has responded to Heinersee's attack. In that last lap, Heinersee turned a 2:05.9. Ed turned a 2:04.9 and picked the second back up.
Yeah, it's going to be hard if he's going to try to run them down. He doesn't have a draft. There's no partner there, so there's no advantage there. He has to do it on raw speed. We know he has the raw talent. You don't become a 13-time champion. There's a big mix-up here between the number 9, number 65, and I didn't catch the number who that was, Mark Wheaton and Andrew Wilkin. They get tangled up down here in the horseshoe, and if both those cars can't get underway anymore, as we see Andrew Wilkin getting going, but it looks like both cars are going to be able to continue.
And you know, it's interesting, Dorsey Schrader, and chatting with him, who's done a lot of laps around this track, obviously, he said, you look at a map. Well, first let's take another look at what happened here.
Yeah, coming down, there's that yellow Camaro, and you see Wilkin just goes right to the inside. No fault of Wheaton at all. Just was in the wrong place at the wrong time, locked the brakes up, made some contact, and unfortunately really ruined the day for both of those drivers.
I'd say Andrew was a tad optimistic with that.
Just a little bit, I would believe. So I think it was Kelly Lubosch in that number 2 yellow Camaro.
Yeah, now the interesting thing I was saying about Dorsey Schrader, he said, you know, you look at a track map and you even go out and just kind of look at this international horseshoe, it looks pretty simple. He said it is one of the most diabolically tricky pieces of pavement that you can imagine racing on, and it does that. It's inviting. Calvin Fish recently referred to a corner as it's like a sucker pin in golf. It looks so easy to drive to it, and you try and do that, and suddenly you're off in the trap behind it, kind of a move. Same kind of a deal.
It really is. I think I did my 3rd race here, and I got on the radio and I made everybody laugh. I said, hey, look, I finally got the international horseshoe right. It was just that, and that was the only lap. went to the next lap, and I went, well, so much for that.
Yeah, it's that tricky, no question about it. But Heinrichsey is back at it and giving it some serious well. He and Hosny that time turning virtually identical laps, but again, a half-second quicker than both of them. Andy McDermott, that margin now for McDermott back to Hosny in second is 13.5 seconds last time by, and Hosny still has the better part of 2.5 seconds, at least back to John Heinrichsey, and they're both lapping a little bit quicker now than Phil Smith in fourth and Dan Richardson in fifth.
Looking back at Amy Aquilante, she's in 6th place. Bill Batten in 7th. Tom Slow still doing a good job. Down a cylinder, your pole sitter. He's back in 8th. Tom Ellis in 9th. And Scott Sanda in the 10th, completing your top 10 in AS. And here is, it looks like, kind of recovering there as Hosny into some lap traffic there. Getting around the number 73.
Yeah.
Chris Qualls from San Francisco region.
And we've got a battle shaping up for the 5th spot right now as Amy Aquilani has just run a couple of laps quicker than Dan Richardson. And last time through, she was within a second of Dan Richardson. Here's a look at the number 20, and that car clearly showing a bit of damage. That's Jim Wheeler. Big loose moment there as well. And that was the car that Heinrichsey had that little side-to-side with. That was reported around the corner net here. And here we go. Heinrichsey coming up on the back now on Ed Hosny. This is for second. Down into the braking zone, and Hosny floats it way, way wide, Jeff.
Yeah, and I'm not sure if Hosny got stuck up there by Christopher Qualls or not, because he last lap time was a 2:07.6. As Heinrichsey off into the dirt, back over there trying to get this pass made. Hosny locks the front tires up. This is A Sedan racing the way it should be.
Absolutely, using every inch of the track, plus a little bit of grass and dirt. Absolutely side by side. Heinrichsey, is he going to sweep the outside through the kink? Yeah. As a matter of fact, he cleared Hosny by the time he got there. So now Heinrichsey dead last up into second. What a drive by the 13-time national champion.
And a little bit different make of car when he did clinch that 13th national championship running that Chevy Sonic B-Spec car. Fastest race lap at a 2:29, and you're running a 2:03.821, which is his fastest race lap last time by. So 27 or so seconds quicker in this car than you are in your Chevy Sonic. It's a different kind of perspective there.
Yeah, completely. And now we're going to see, I think, we'll see what Heinrichsey's margin is. It should be up around 18 to 19 seconds. That he's adrift right now of Andy McDermott as we get a little bit of a puff of smoke from the back of the number 51 of Tom Ellis. And Ellis up there into that top 10. But again, I think we're going to start seeing that Daniel Richardson, Amy Aquilani battle start to snug up again. She is within a half a second now that last time by in that battle. Watching here now down the back chute. There it is, just right there coming through the frame at the bottom. There goes Dan, and there was Amy. Now this, I think, is Bill Botten.
Yeah,
Yep,
Bill
that's
Botten.
the number 8 now.
Chris Qualls still having some problems there. As there is that battle you talk about with Richardson and Amy Aquilante. There is the gap that you see amongst those two drivers now. She's lapping about a half second quicker than Daniel Richardson. The previous lap, though, they were separated by only 28 thousandths of a second in lap time. Philip Smith right in front of this group, still in fourth, recovering from that early contact with Hosny.
Yeah, so we may have a 3-car battle here for that 4th spot. And this battle is unfolding right now about 5 seconds. That make it 7 seconds behind Ed Hosny. And any issues for Hosny, and this one could become an interesting battle, perhaps yet for a medal. And that's why you never quit digging. You have to go after it all the time, especially in this class, because you never know what's going to happen.
And you don't know, because Ed Hosny had contact with Philip Smith, and we also had some side-to-side contact with John Heinrichsey and Jim Wheeler, so we never know what time penalties might be done post-race at all. So you could be fourth, you might even be second after the time penalties. Got to get this done.
And Amy looks really, really tidy and quick in the infield here. In 2013 and 2014, both years she finished 5th at the runoffs in this class. In 2013, she was the Northeast Division champion. And also she was the Eastern Conference champion last year in the Nationwide Majors Points Championship. So she's got some serious chops right now, and she's closing quickly now on the back of Richardson.
Yeah, doing a good job. She saw that was a 4 or 5 car length lead through NASCAR 3 and 4. She's dropped out to 2 car lengths as they come down through the bus stop the last lap by. She was about 0.2 of a second quicker than Richardson is Philip Smith, just trying to stay in front of this group there. As you see John Heinersey coming through the bus stop just at the bottom of your screen.
Yeah, and Richardson was the Sedan Northeastern Conference champion this year in majors competition. And it's interesting, between he and Amy Aquilani, the last 4 years, they've had 5th place covered at the runoffs. You know, they'd like one of them would sure love to break that sky and be able to move up and finally get a medal around the neck here. And Amy is giving it everything she can here. But Richardson, boy, they look just so closely balanced right now.
Yeah, should just be a good run for her if she can get up into that 4th place. And when you're in a sedan, stuff happens quick. It's going to be white flag next time by for your leader, Andy McDermott. He's already crossed the stripe here, and this goes back to our battle for that 5th position. So when you're running 2-minute lap times here, the time flies.
Absolutely, and I'll tell you, even for a race with that kind of a margin, 20 seconds now from McDermott back to Heinersey, this race has flown by because there's been great battles and tons of action everywhere else around the track. And watching one of the best little scraps unfolding right here. It looks like Richardson able to stretch that margin just a little bit up on the banking, but again in the infield, Amy just starts to eat into that margin big time.
Yeah, she needs to pull ahead and stay ahead of him and get a big enough lead through that infield if she's going to want to stay in front of Richardson on that oval, because that was where that Camaro is faster than this Firebird.
Right now they're running Philip Smith, who's just in front of these two, is about 3 seconds adrift of Hosney, and Hosney sits in that final medal position in 3rd. But Amy getting a great run up and out of that west horseshoe now, trying to set up, trying to get Richardson to have to pinch it onto that turn. She's trying to square up and come underneath. She's got a good drive, but is it going to be enough?
Not really sure. Richardson did a good job trying to defend to the inside, but we said that Richardson's got a little bit more motor than her, and you see that he starts to pull away a little bit there on the high bank. The longer way around, Amy, her best thing she could do, I believe, would be to pull right in behind him, try to catch that draft to make a late breaking move into the bus stop. There, she finally does that.
Well, let's see, because if she's in the right spot, we know that car drafts well, but she's just not quite close enough, Jeff. Ooh, but Richardson, a big bit of rotation. He's just ripped the splitter off the front end of the car, and Amy now should be able to just easily come up and drive through. But you know what? Sometimes if you don't necessarily have the pace and position to make the move, you force them into an error, and that's exactly what she did, as McDermott has picked up the white flag. Last lap.
Yeah, 1 lap to go for your overall leader in that WeatherTech Mustang down here into the International Horseshoe. Only has about 8 more corners to do and about 2 miles to make it done here as he gets down into that kink. See a little fire shooting out of the side of that Mustang when he shifts. I'm sure he's got a dog box in there, which is square cut gears in the transmission. You don't use the clutch to shift. You just match the revs and put it into gears and go on your way as you get some lap traffic there.
That you hear, you have to do that. And the thing I love about Andy McDermott, you look at the helmet, other drivers, the big fancy paint scheme on the helmet, it's just white, man. He puts all his money into and absolutely into the car. We've got to change for 3rd, don't we?
We sure do. Philip Smith able to get around Hosney. And I just saw Amy Aquilante there. As it looks like there might have been a car stop down there in the International Horseshoe, but Philip Smith up to that podium spot with 1 lap to go.
Oh, wow. He just has driven a couple of great last laps. He just uncorked a 2:04.6. That's not far off of his fast lap, Jeff.
No, not far off at all with only 1 lap to go. You might be on a rail there near the end, and I did not see Richardson or Aquilani behind this group. The gap last time by was only about 3 or 4 seconds, and I thought I saw some little, like you would say, argy-bargy there, and they're still battling here as they come down through the West Horseshoe. It looks like Richardson got back around her.
Boy, and there it is. There's the pass. And Richardson, boy, even with that damage on the front end of that car, he's been able to find some speed somewhere. But now Amy really, she's got a problem, it looks like, in the right rear.
Yeah, it looks like she's got a flat tire, unfortunately, in the right rear of her car.
Well, I wonder if she maybe went through some debris, may even have been from Richardson's off there. And Amy Aquilani, what a shame, what a drive she had put in, hounded Richardson into a mistake, and not happening as Andy McDermott comes through and picks up the checkered flag, winning his 7th Ace Sedan National Championship, and we're still waiting for 2nd to come by. That was the size of Andy's margin in this one, and who knows now what John Heinersey, what the story would have been here had both Slow and Heinersey stayed in it, but that's why we hold on and have these races, and there's McDermott coming through and picking up that checkered flag. The final margin of victory, 20 8.5 seconds. McDermott back to Heinrichsey. And McDermott fast lap of the race at a 2:02.9. Heinrichsey's best lap at 2:03.8. But the tail of the tape was that McDermott was every lap a little bit quicker than everyone else in the field. He was relentless in his speed.
Yeah, did a good job really just controlling that. Once he got right around Tom Slow, he knew that he needed to get that done early and just pulled away. I gotta think that even if Heinrichsey was in his original starting place, every lap this race, Andy McDermott was faster than Heinrichsey. I don't think John would have had anything for McDermott. I think John finished in second, and that's where he would have been.
Yeah, I mean, John needed, obviously, Tom Slow and Andy to get into one of those real slam-bang battles and just be in it here. But, you know, and I think Andy would say, you know what, after what happened last year, I'm going to take this. Having both of my competitors have little issues, giving me a run like this, I maybe should have, could have won it last year, except for a blown-up brake rotor on the car. This year, absolute perfection from the drop of that green flag. That little touch, obviously, was slow, but clearly didn't damage either of them. And Andy, boy, I'll tell you, what a run.
Yeah, you see that little bit of donut there on the door, and that's all that happened. That's just rubbing, that's racing, that's V8s here at Daytona International Speedway, the way that it should be. But like you said at the beginning of our show, 7-time champion now, all in this A sedan class.
Well, and you're going to see why, too, when he gets out of the car. If you've never seen Andy McDermott, when he gets out of the car for the interview with Hayward, he crawls out, and you look at that build, and you look at when he peels that helmet off, that just screams A sedan. That screams Wooma. That screams just manhandling a bunch of horsepower. And Andy does it arguably better than anyone else. I can't wait for it to come around. John Heinrichsey, what a drive. Again, getting his 13th national championship in Friday's competition. And another medal to add to a huge collection that he's got building. And for Philip Smith, that was a great run to third. He got into that late race dice with Ed Hosney and was able to hang on and bring it home with that medal, Jeff.
He able to recover, had some contact with Hosney, so we're still not sure how that's going to end up with Hosney.
Yeah.
And the one I feel sorry for has got to be Amy Aquilante, just with that flat tire. I thought I saw some contact being made there with, he needs to come down and get an interview there with Hayward. I think the crew will tell him to keep going, but got to get all the cars you see coming to make their hardship lap here.
Yep.
The Formula cars rolling off. Mazda, you see Eric Prill there doing a hardship lap. Those are for a lap around. If you have a technical problem or something going on with your car yesterday, you can make one lap of the event to kind of make sure everything's okay before you do your race time. But we got to get Andy McDermott down to our pits there. I think somebody needs to wave him there.
Yeah, I think the crew's trying to get him over there now. By the way, let's give a shout out to Tom Slow. Down a cylinder up against some awfully stout competition. Still able to bring it home in a 7th spot. So a pretty good run for Tom Slow, especially when you consider those conditions. And we all know what Tom's capable of in terms of speed. So a fantastic run. And I wonder, I mean, that crew for Andy, he stopped and they're looking at some stuff in the car. And there's a crew member that already crawled on board. I think they're anticipating that victory lap with the checkered flag. But we really need to get that car down here and get queued up for our interview. Same story with Heinrichsey and Philip Smith. It's going to be interesting to hear from Heinrichsey, too, about that battle that he had up through the field, that little bit of a hit with the 20-wheeler, and how all of that's playing out here.
Yeah, I think that's what the crew is trying to do, is figure out where they can sit inside that car. John Heinrichsey himself stopped there on pit lane as well. So trying to get a water bottle over there to John. You see they're throwing bottles there, but we do need to get all of our podium finishers down there. But I think everybody's just tired. These cars, that big V8, you're going fast here. It's humid, it's hot. I think some of these guys just needed to get some water as quickly as they could.
I think so, and you can see some smoke now from that yellow, number 156 at Tom Slow down that cylinder. Boy, a bit of a traffic jam here down at the pit out there, and they're trying to get Andy into where he can actually do his interview here. And now he's able to pull in. There's Mr. McDermott, and he is one wiped out boy. Hayward?
Andy McDermott, last year we had a conversation at the end of the runoffs that was a very unhappy Andy McDermott. How happy is this Andy McDermott?
It's a little redemption, I think. The WeatherTech Mustang ran me like a champ. I got to thank Felice Engines. Sorry, I'm a little mixed up right now, man. That was a little bit more than usual. So.
Well, the first couple of laps of the race, you and Tom had a pretty good little battle going. They got into the bus stop and had a problem behind you. Did you see anything unfold there? Did you realize that you had been able to get a gap from someone else's error?
Well, I saw Tom go long in the bus stop. I didn't know what happened. I got in on the inside of him in turn 2. 3, whatever it is, and that went pretty well. A little rubbing, but nothing serious. I think, that's racing. But car ran awesome. We got down to the bus stop. Seemed like we had the advantage, so with Pro Systems brakes came through, Carbotech pads, holy crap, are those things awesome, as you noticed.
Now, you may not know this yet, but according to Jeff Lepper, you turned the fastest lap of the race every lap of the race. A truly dominant performance. You get one more lap than with the checkered flag. Congratulations to you.
We're going to go enjoy that. Thanks, everybody.
Andy McDermott.
All right, let's see if we can find John Heinrichsey. I see the car is right over here. So Jordan and I are going to walk over here to Heinrichsey, getting a water. John, yesterday we talked about your 13th national championship and lucky number 13. This wasn't the kind of luck you were looking for, was it?
Wasn't the luck at the beginning there. We got caught turning the camera on. They gave us the 3 to go, and he jumped in to turn the cameras on, and they do a quick 3, and boom, they sent everybody while he was turning the cameras on.
Now, I know that you are here, number one, to have fun at the runoffs. Is there anything that can be more fun than driving from the back to the front of an Sedan field?
It's a lot of fun. It's a lot of fun. I'd rather be on behind Andy, making him look in his mirrors, but it was a lot of fun.
Well, a great drive for you. Definitely one that folks are going to talk about for a long time. I need to find Philip Smith, who I believe is up in front of Andy McDermott, so we'll take a walk up there. We've got a little bit of a traffic jam here on pit lane. Not surprising here at the end of the American Sedan race, a little bit of a heated scene. And let's see if we can find Philip Smith. Philip Smith, congratulations to you on a 3rd place finish here in American Sedan. We're just going to move everything here.
What an amazing...
So, Philip, it looked like the Fox Body Mustang in front of you had some legs on the straightaway, but you just kept chipping away and chipping away.
Exactly. Car's set up really good for a long run. The Hoosier R tires are unbelievable. They came in. It was the hardest racing you can imagine. Car was set up great. I think Ed had a little transmission problem. He kind of got into me at the International Horseshoe, spun me around, but I used my old school parking lot snow drifting experience to get the thing spun around, and only lost a couple of spaces and just kept hammering on the 54 Camaro, PRS Racing, Elmore, Phil Harper, awesome. Ron Sutton, great job, everyone. Thanks for all the hard work. Dennis, crew, family, for letting me do this great stuff in the club.
Now, I just talked to 2 guys on the podium with you who have about a baker's dozen championships each. They're calm, cool, and collective. You're fired up. This is a big deal, isn't it?
Podium, first podium here. I've been doing this for 10 years, just chipping away, getting better, learning this stuff before I age out and get too old. I can't do it anymore.
Well, congratulations to you on a fantastic 3rd place finish here at the runoffs.
Thank you. Thank you so much. Thanks, everyone. Take care, guys.
Wow, what a race. And I love that enthusiasm there for that medalist. That's fantastic. And here's just a stat to throw at you here. That was John Heinrichsey's 17th medal that he's earned at the runoffs. I mean, the man is a machine, isn't he? It's just unbelievable. Who knows? He probably would have had an 18th had he not had that clutch problem in the GT1 car. But, folks, you could see how hot everybody is. Andy McDermott absolutely dripping out there. That's the humidity. This is early morning. It's that thick here still. As we take a look at the results again, Ed Hosney and Bill Botten, give him a shout here. A good run when other people had some problems, fought his way back up into 5th. Richardson slow down his cylinder. Scott Sanda, Beth Aquilani, and Amy Aquilani maybe, was in with a shout at a medal here until she had that obvious mechanical issue. Looked like you said maybe a flat right rear.
Yeah, I got to think that Richardson and her got together. I thought I saw some just as a glimpse there in the International Horseshoe on her cameras and had that tire go down as it looks like McDermott's waiting to get his flag lap. We did see an ambulance down there, so hopefully all the drivers are okay. It was hot. Possibly got a little overheated, and just great to see the safety crews attending to that right away. But
yeah, I think Andy's just probably waiting for those hardship laps to complete,
so he can get going as quick as he can and have some fun.
Because he wants to have some fun on this lap. Absolutely. Just fantastic racing, as we always see in a Sedan, and it all started with some excitement at the start. Pole sitter Tom Slow in the front, but Ed Hosney getting a jump. Everybody running a little wide. A little bit of a tap there as Hosney tried to come up with it. This bit of contact, Jeff, and that really, we thought it was going to take Philip Smith out of the medals, and he was able to come back. An overly optimistic move there.
Yeah, you saw that down to the inside when he locked the brakes up. There's Richardson ripping that front bumper off that. And you'll see Amy Aquilani get around him and I think we'll see what happened a little bit later or hear about it, I'm sure, but able to get the 10th place. And there is your 7-time national winner, Andy McDermott, getting the win.
Absolutely fantastic, and he is queuing up to go out and enjoy his lap of honor for the 7th time, as you point out. What a race we had. Congratulations now to our medalist, Andy McDermott with the win, John Heinrichsey, his 17th runoff medal total, and Philip Smith absolutely delighted here, of course, with that 3rd place finish. And Andy McDermott, I think he's just sitting there. I think we might see something kind of fun when he decides to launch this thing. He's got a long time to rebuild that gearbox and tranny and diff in the back.
And you know, those Hoosier tires will last okay. They're not a problem there. He doesn't matter burning those off. They just got to get all the safety vehicles clear, make sure we get all the cars that are wounded around this track off and cleared as quick as we can. So we'll see Andy McDermott. He'll be able to celebrate his 7th time.
Yep, absolutely fantastic. A Sedan in the books here at this 52nd running of SCCA's National Championship Runoffs, presented by Garmin Verb. Hope you enjoyed our coverage today, presented by Mazda. Again, for Hayward Wagner down at pit lane, a great job. Jeff Lepper, always a pleasure, my friend. I'm Greg Creamer. Thanks for joining us for A Sedan here at the 2015 SCCA National Championship Runoffs, presented by Garmin Verb. The 2015 SCCA National Championship Runoffs, presented by Garmin Verb, is being brought to you by Mazda. Mazda, driving matters.
16 wide eyes. Driver's license, took 2 tries, bought a Roadster secondhand. Playing parties with the band, loaded up, off to state. Hijinks, tailgates, starter, midsize, family cruising. Now in the garage, something new reminds you of when you were you.
It's time to face facts. You're a gearhead. You wish the freeway on-ramp was your personal racetrack. Well, buckle up, buddy, because the Sports Car Club of America wants you. With 40,000 members and events across the country, the SCCA has all the excitement you can handle. Dance the blacktop two-step with SCCA Solo. Get down and dirty with SCCA Rallycross. Or go wheel-to-wheel with SCCA Club Racing. Hit the track with the SCCA, where America's best drivers race.